So you don't shun the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil finds his groove in them rhythm and blues that send. It's gonna get you sun in the end.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Damon Bolte.
I'm Sother Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson, and it is a new year. New year, new
Happy
us.
New Year,
Happy
boys.
New Year, gentlemen. We
New
made
Year.
it.
Wow, that was a rough one.
2026. I know. Yeah, we're officially on the back end of this decade, which I don't know. I'm kind of excited about. And that leads me into the thing I want to talk about at the start of the show, because 2025 was rough. Don't want to talk about that. 2026, not off to a great start. Don't want to talk about that. Dry January. Don't want to talk about that. What I do want to talk about, guys, is the fact that on Monday, our humble little radio program is going to be 15 years old.
Yeah.
15.
Holy
I
smoke.
know. And I did something that I actually realized this week I had never done. I listened to the first episode ever of the Speakeasy. Yeah. When Damon was in his 20s, what a young buck he was. It's fucking wild, man. Have you guys listened to it at any point recently? Damon, have you ever listened to it since laying that track down a decade and a half ago?
During COVID, I kind of went back because I had nothing but time and listened to some of the early ones. Yeah. Adam Colasar, Tiki Adam, and Brian Miller obviously was the first one. And, it's like that Howard Stern movie when he has like the frog in his throat. He's like, WNBC. I feel like my voice was really weird back then. So it's hard to go back and listen to the early stuff. Not that it wasn't great content, but there were some learning curves, especially with, in the industry, especially in New York City, a lot of the big hitters in the cocktail world, like Del DeGroff and Julie Reiner and David Wondrich, I had to start coaching myself, but also had to coach the guests before.
Yeah.
You can't say Dave, Dale, or Julie. You got to say their full name, author of this book or owner of this bar, give the full thing. So, because it did feel, I'm sure you heard it, but felt a little too insider, which is great because that's the whole idea of the show has always been. It's like we're hanging out at the bar, talking shop, and it's very, very loose and open that way. So it was very loose and very open that way when we started.
Yeah. Well, and that was my major
days.
impression listening to it is, first of all, you sound way younger. Like, it's wild. Like, you sound just very, I don't know, softer, I guess. You've got your voice is some good age on it now, like a fine bourbon, it's good.
Well, I think the bourbon's what helped me develop my voice.
It is that fine bourbon that smooths the voice.
You can hear it in the pipes. But the other thing that kind of got me is, like you said, you have to kind of explain things to the guests and to the listener. Like in this original one, you were kind of explaining to people what Smyth and Cross was, which I don't think we really need to do to people who listen to the show anymore. I feel like that's common knowledge.
Different. Yeah.
But it's also like the more things change, the more things stay the same. You and Brian Miller, who you mentioned were the first guests, were kind of lamenting, like, man, I would really love like a nice kind of like divey bar, where you also can get great cocktails. Like that's always been the El Dorado that we're chasing in this industry. It's just it's nice to know that there are some carrots that you're never quite going to grab. It helps you reach for things,
No, but I think there's a lot of, look, I've been doing this for 15 years. Together, we've done over 700 episodes, which is shocking. And, a lot has changed in 15 years. And I think it's, mostly for the best, for the better, And I will say this, in my travels all last year, I did notice a lot of, I don't want to really call them dive bars, but kind of like casual neighborhood, kind of rock and roll bars, that, you've got, PBR on draft, but then you've got like, oh, why do you have a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle on the back bar? And
right,
you make a really good daiquiri, that kind of thing. So what we were talking about in the early days were like, man, and kind of we predicted there would be like this moment where all the kind of everything in between LA and New York would start kind of getting enriched with like the cocktail culture and distilleries and breweries and even wine programs in places you never thought they would you would see. Yeah, so
it's funny you bring that up, Damon.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up, because that was one other thing that really struck me listening to it, is you guys were kind of shocked. It's like, yeah, places like Houston and St. Louis have good cocktail programs now. And for a while there, we were, as regular listeners to the show will remember, we were pretty mean to the middle part of the country for a very long time, specifically to one particular city.
Yeah,
one particular.
I take the blame for that.
well, thank you. I was gonna collectively throw us all in that grenade,
I'll
but
take
yeah,
it.
it was
me.
Sother. It was Sother who was being mean to the fine town of Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa, a town I still have never been to, so I can't. I don't even have a basis for being mean to that town.
Exactly. And that's why for our first show of 2025, I was like, I'm going to resolve to do better. We all need to resolve to do better. We're going to bring a guest on from Des Moines, Iowa, who's going to tell us why we're wrong. He's going to tell us why we've been wrong to pick on this poor city. And it was really great. We had Joe Hayho from The Blind Pig came on, told us why Des Moines was cool. And at the end of the show, I asked him, okay, I'm convinced Des Moines sounds like a great place. Who should we be ripping on from now on, now that Des Moines is officially in the clear? And at the end of it, he goes, I don't know. I went to Lansing, Michigan a couple of times when I was a kid, and I always thought that place kind of sucked. So we're like, okay, great. Lansing. Lansing is going to be our new punching bag for the year.
All year long.
But once again, new year, new us, because we have live from, actually not in Lansing right now, in Maple Rapids, Michigan, but having an outpost in the great city of Lansing, the capital of the Wolverine state. We've got Gregg Smyth and Brian Phillips of Phillips Cider Bar and Pizzeria on the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Great to be here.
Thanks.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. And thank you for coming in and participating in our New Year's resolution show, where we resolve to be better to the great city of Lansing, Michigan.
And beyond.
And beyond, exactly. But I want to start at the beginning, and then we can kind of get into, the Michigan of it all. You run a 6th generation cider orchard that we're talking about here, correct?
That's true. That's me. Started in 1852, and yep, I'm the 6th generation of my family to run that farm.
When you're growing up in a as you are the 6th generation of this family, like, what are the pressures like to know that you're like, I'm going to have to take over this business? That's just how it works. We've had on Lisa Laird from the Laird's family. She's 10th her son is 10th generation, and he's getting groomed to take over. Like, how did that feel, and how did you even walk away in the first place? And then what made you come back is what I'd like to know.
Yeah, I guess I do feel lucky that my parents in particular, my grandparents also, both encouraged me to go away, see a little bit of the world, see what else is out there. And if you decide
to go away, or there's like, get out of here, do we?
Well, no, I think it was in good humor. Maybe some of both. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
And then, but they each gave it a little different spin. My parents would say, "Go experience the world. If you ever want to come back, it'll be here." And my grandparents were like, "Go experience the world, but you will come back someday and do it." Like, it's
a little
your
firmer
duty.
message from the grandparents.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah,
but after spending 20 years in the auto industry, I guess I was kind of feeling burnt out with the whole corporate culture and the constant, grinding all your suppliers to get another nickel out of them. And it just had lost its allure. And the time that I came back, if anybody remembers the auto industry, was also kind of a rough time in U.S. auto history, where, Chrysler was going bankrupt and GM was going bankrupt. And it seemed like maybe a nudge from the universe, like, now might be the time.
Yeah. How do you like them apples? Well, let's talk,
How long have you been sitting on that joke for, Sother?
Easy, champion. Well, let's talk about the business side of what you do now, because your family-run business of now 6th generation, you're not just in the cider business. You have a bigger footprint there in Michigan. What are you doing? What are you making? And how do the customers in Michigan respond to your products?
Yeah, it's been growing and evolving since we came back. And, it started out really as orchard, apples, cider. Our customers talked us into doing donuts. They were like, you have to have donuts with cider. So, okay, we'll do it. So it started evolving from there. And then after a couple of years back on the farm, we were like, we're 3 miles off paved road on a, dead end road. There's only so many people who will drive down here. So we opened a new store on the main highway near us, and kept growing the bakery part of the business. And then I had wanted to get into the hard cider business since before I came back out to the farm. But I played with it a lot. I ruined a lot of cider by not being attentive to it when it needed attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that part of the business never took off until we hired somebody to do it. So that it was they could focus on it when I was distracted on other things.
Wait, I want to just clarify for myself and for the listener, 6 generations in, and you guys were just making regular cider, not tapping into the hard cider aspect.
Right.
You pioneered that innovation in your company.
I don't know if I take 100% credit for it. The stories are that my great grandfather used to keep barrels of it in his basement, and used to, have the friends over.
Use, right?
Yeah, have the friends over to the basement. But my grandparents, my parents, they were not. Those were 2 non-drinking generations of our family, so it just
like Prohibition era grandparents and their offspring.
Yeah, so it had never been a commercial part of the business.
I'm kind of flabbergasted by this. That's a big switch in the family business. How did that go over with the older generations, and how did you find the market once you started actually trying to put these things out there in front of customers?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a mixed welcome from the older generation. My grandparents weren't fans. My parents seemed more ambivalent about it, I guess. I don't think we ever really thought that finding a market would be that hard. Since we had a footprint and a retail footprint to sell from, we weren't having to go out and try to talk some retailer or a bar into carrying our product. We had at least some outlet for our product. So I don't feel like that was ever a big concern for us. But yeah, it is maybe not entirely coincidental that we didn't start into the hard cider until after my grandparents were gone.
That's the old switcheroo after when the cats are away.
You just waited them out.
Yeah, exactly.
You persevered.
Yeah.
Well, talk to us a little about like some of your offerings. Like what kind of apples are you using? What exactly are you making? Both the hard and soft. Like what are the liquids that our listeners would be interested in hearing about?
Yeah, I mean we make traditional sweet cider that you'll buy at a cider mill, and we sell quite a bit of that every year. We probably make more than, I don't know the exact number, but more than 20 different kinds of hard cider in a season. Mm-hmm. We've got 3 year-round retail locations now. So and at our bar in Lansing, since we were talking about Lansing, we've got 11 ciders on tap at all times. So we've got some selection there. And then the other part of our business that kind of spun into it was pizza. When we first had hard cider, we had a food truck come with pizza. And then when we opened the place in Lansing, we're like, people need something to eat, so they'll have that second pint or the third pint.
Not just donuts.
So, right. Yeah. Donuts, not really doing it. No.
They only go so far, right?
Exactly. And might be nice at the end of the night, but
pizza's perfect. For anything sparkly. Like our friend Maxwell Britton, he's always, I think he used to have a blog about pizza and champagne and rap. He's like, that's true. I know that you do like you do dry ciders, which that must be kind of interesting for, especially this. I feel like the American cider market tends to lean towards like the kind of sweeter side traditionally, but there's a big market for nerds like us on this show who love, especially like Basque, French ciders, Spanish ciders, those drier ones. And I think that really lends itself well to both pizza and donuts.
Correct.
And also there's what's in the name. I mean, Maple Rapids. I just like it. Just what do you picture when you hear the town name Maple Rapids? I mean, I just think donuts and cider. Like it's built in. It's great.
Dry cider is definitely our style. I mean, it's what I like personally. It's what my cider maker likes personally. I sometimes tell people sweet cider is unnatural because that yeast wants to ferment all that sugar.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't want to stop. So it's really kind of weird to stop it part way.
Yeah, won't it stop itself once the alcohol level gets to a certain degree? I mean, that's.
I think when all the sugar's gone, I mean, that's when the yeast stops. There's nothing for it to eat.
Yeah,
and
right.
Convert.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did make one concession to the market, and we make one semi-sweet cider. And it is a big seller, but still 75% of our cider is dry cider. And that's what we, that's what we
really
like to
flipped
make.
the script. Like I didn't expect to hear that number. I thought it would be the opposite. I thought you'd have to like wedge in the one that you really like to, but it seems backwards.
No. Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating.
When we first opened, we, sold hard cider at a cider mill. And that would have been, I think, 7 years ago.
Almost 7 now. Yep.
And so everyone that walked in the door at a cider mill is expecting, sweet donuts and sweet cider. But we launched with dry cider. So it was a slow go in the beginning. But then when we opened in Lansing and expanded our business, everyone in Lansing would walk in the door and they'd say, "Do you have any dry cider?" Like we wouldn't. And we were like, "Oh my gosh, our people, they're here," because everything we have is dry except for one. And so that was nice. That was a nice welcome.
Well, then you get to like kind of control the drinking style in that way. It's like, you're not pandering to the masses. You're actually creating like a culture around it. That's great. It's so cool, and I think that's what it should be. I think if you're into it for the percentage more for other people than yourself, it's kind of like you're probably going to start hating your job. Like at a certain point, if you're not doing something that you like to drink, if you're not making something you like to drink yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and my cider makers come right out and said, you want me to start making some stuff with some, using some concentrate or some added flavors or something like that. It's like, I'm out of here. I'm not. That's not what I want to do.
Good. It's good to have that line in the sand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, what are your roles in the company? Like, Greg? What do you do for and with the company to move the ball down the field and like how do you incorporate yourself into the family business?
Yeah, so I have a customer service background. I'm actually a flight attendant for an airline. I'm from the East Coast.
Thank you for your service.
Michigan because of my absolute pleasure. I got to Michigan because of my job in the airline industry. And so I love people. I like to bring, I also have a design background too. So I really focus on brand image and I focus on customer experience. We do have a gift shop as well as, the 2 restaurants and cider bars. So it's really kind of multi-level where people can experience, things with multiple senses, whether it's tangible things like buying gifts, drinking hard cider and shopping for gifts, enjoying pizza, doing all of that. So I really bring kind of all of that expertise to our business. And then, Brian really works on, he's like the glue that pulls it all together. Like farmers can do everything. So if we need anything done, I mean, Brian can just jump in and make sure that it happens.
Right. So I spend my time more on the production side of the business, or running the orchard and running the cider, production. And then I spin my hat around and put my CFO hat on and try to keep the books straight and the money going the right places. So, so Gregg really focuses on the front of the house, kind of in a bar speak.
Like anything you see.
Right, with the design of the places and the customer experience, and he does most of our social media work, and then I do the grunt work, keep the machinery running, and keep the orchard going.
Right, you're wearing the Carhartts.
Yeah,
100%.
Exactly.
Like towing out employees when it snows and they get stuck in our driveway.
Right.
I mean, he's doing every single thing.
Yeah. Everybody wants to wear Carhartts till it's time to do Carhartt shit.
That's hilarious.
I mean, that's fascinating to me, though. Still, like, and also it's fascinating to me, like the expansion of the company itself. Maybe roll back a little bit and talk about that. Like when you took over or moved into your position as sixth generation, did the company have any of these restaurant outlets at that point, or was it still just the one cidery with the off, the 3 miles off the path or what have you? And like, why did you decide to expand into restaurants and instead of maybe just opening up more retail operations?
Yeah. So yeah, when I came back, let's say that I'm going to roll back just a little bit farther.
Go.
In the late '80s, when I was still in high school and college and wrapping up living at home the first time, we had about 200 acres of apples, and most of our business was wholesale, packing for grocery stores and other stores around. That was the business. But the ensuing couple decades while I was gone were not good decades for the business. The whole retail landscape has changed a lot. You've got a few big retailers now, as opposed to many more mid-market, mid-sized retailers. So that whole business changed. My father shrunk the business a lot. And by the time I got back, we maybe had 60 acres of apples instead of 200.
Ooh, wow.
And he and I collectively bulldozed about half of the rest of it. So,
I helped do that too.
Yeah. So
that was fun.
That's
that
super
was
fun.
That was a fun.
Came in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so by the time Gregg and I came back, it was literally just small orchard, little retail shop at the orchard. That was it.
Like we started coming out on the weekends in 2007. So Brian would work like in the auto industry during the week. I would fly around the country or the world, and then we'd come back. We'd pack up our car and drive up from Detroit and just kind of play around. Like we'd help his dad with the orchard because the orchard had been in retirement. The business was in retirement, and the dad was reviving a small sales room that basically anyone in the neighborhood knew about and would go
nobody
to.
else did.
So there were no cashiers. You would just put your money in a barrel, take what you wanted.
It was self-serve.
Totally self-serve. And so we
Honor
started
system,
doing that. And it's such it was just beautiful to be in the country. And it really is truly, just an amazing piece of property. So it was nice just to come up and work on that. And then
we're of course slightly biased by loving the land that we happen to live on.
Sure.
But yeah, so we started out, coming back, helping my dad out. And then when we moved out we actually moved out
2 years later,
we moved 2 years later in 2009, and just started working on expanding the retail store at the farm itself. That was pretty much our first year project. And then
we did add donuts in that year, which we did not want donuts. But when you have a cider mill, people expect donuts.
People are going to ask. Yeah.
So everyone that walked in the door was like, oh, do you have donuts?
Yeah.
And so New Year's Eve of 2008, we actually bought a whole donut kitchen on eBay, I think for under $1,000. And it all shipped up to us from Texas. And we just listened to our customer. That's how it's all kind of evolved, is you listen to the customer. Whatever they want, we give it a try. And that ultimately creates like an income for us. You know?
And so, then after that year, we started, we bought a piece of property on the main highway by us, and it's an old cow barn that we slowly, over the course of, 5 or 6 years, slowly renovated that barn.
We would take over like a chunk at a time.
Yep.
And go through.
So one of my favorite pictures from those days is the two of us busting out old busted up concrete with a sledgehammer and a crowbar. It's like, I want to just remind people we did work for it.
Right. Like we did.
Show your work as Southern.
Yeah, exactly.
Sixth generation, it wasn't just handed to you. It was handed to you, it sounds like, in a bit of a dilapidated state, and you resurrected it.
Yeah.
And changed it.
Yep. And we definitely changed from, a wholesale focused business to a totally retail focused business. And, we spent those next few years expanding our primary retail store there, slowly adding more space, adding more products. And then we got to, I'm going to get the date right, 2019, right? when we started hard cider?
When we started hard cider, started selling hard cider.
March 1st, 2019. So we had hired a cider maker in late, harvest time 2018, started making some cider and put in a bar and 8 taps. And actually we didn't. We started with 4 taps.
We started with
4 taps.
4 all dry.
Yep.
So and 7 years ago, like that's kind of revolutionary, actually.
Yeah. So that was kind of where the whole, hard cider thing started to grow. And then the food spun out of it. Our need for having some food, we thought, at the bar in Lansing, got us going. And we're like, we've got a bakery. They already make bread. They could obviously make pizza dough. We should be able to do this. I
think so. Part of the expansion too is we went from a seasonal business to a year-round business. So we have all these employees that we'd like to keep employed, because then you have a consistent product and everything runs a lot more smoothly. So as we've continued to add on these elements, it also allows us to employ people year-round, because we used to start up and stop, start and stop, and that was
hard
a lot for everybody.
Hard to keep people year to year that way.
That can be turbulent. Am I right?
Yeah. There were moments.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen.
So the thing is, this is state by state, obviously, but a lot of wineries and breweries, mostly distilleries, they can't serve. They have limitations on what they can serve on site. So they'll have an offsite tasting room where they can do a little bit more, or maybe they can't do offsite and they have to do it on the distillery. But the distillery might be, for instance, in the middle of this, Fresno, in the middle of California, where you're on the 5 and you're just trying to blast either to San Francisco, up where I live, or down to LA and get it over with, and you don't really want to stop unless you have to and get gas or whatever. I'm sure you have tons more ideas that you want to throw into the mix, beyond the cider and the food. There's probably a music festival that you have in the back burner or something. I don't know.
I think Damon's angling for an invitation. I think that's
there's that.
Well, actually, speaking of bringing people together, I just want to make sure I've got the timeline here. So you started doing hard ciders in 2019. When did you open the doors of the cider room and the pizzeria in Lansing?
That we opened, interestingly enough, so December 28th of 2022, we opened there. We had to wait 3 months for all of our licensing to be final. Yeah. So literally, we were there every day. We opened without
hard cider.
We opened without hard cider, a cider bar without hard
booze.
Cider. So we were pushing what we had, donuts and gift items, locally made gift items, and just trying to create any kind of relationship and also pay the bills.
Sure, start a community, right?
Right, exactly. But there was this whole, people kept coming in and they were really excited for hard cider, and they already knew Phillips from, their fall ventures. And so when we finally did get licensing, that was it was crazy in a really beautiful way. We didn't have enough people working, but everyone was the customers were so cool, and we sold a lot of cider. Brian was actually at a local beer and cider fest. So there were just 2 of us behind the bar. He joined us later to help clean it all up. And it was really good.
Yep. So that was 2022. Mm-hmm. And then just in February of this year, we opened the place we're sitting in right now in Maple Rapids. So that was the kind of the pizza evolution part of the story, where we had started doing pizza at our bar in Lansing, and there was a pizzeria here in this little village that had been here for a long time, but had been closed for a couple of years.
We used to order from here and they would deliver to our farm. So having pizza delivery in the country is
rare.
Revolutionary.
That's crazy.
I can imagine.
Rare. And when they, I remember calling them to order and no one answered. And we called back for an hour wondering what was going on.
They were done.
And then realized they were totally done. And so the pizzeria sat empty for, I think, about 2 years. And I was working at our cider bar in St. John's on the highway. And a girl came in and we were just talking, and we were talking about the movie Mystic Pizza. I was
just up in Mystic, Connecticut recently.
You were. And I was I really would love to open a pizza place at that pizzeria in Maple Rapids. But I was like, it's not for sale. It's just sitting there empty. And she said, actually, it just went on the market. My sister and I looked at it, but it needs too much work. So we're not going to buy it. And I was like, I know this is a lot to ask, but do you live near there? And she said, yes. I was like, can you take a photo of the phone number on the door? And then I'll call the guy. And so she did. And literally 2 days later, we walked in, we saw it. We made an offer on the spot. He took the sign off the door and he handed us the keys. Like we didn't give him any money. So this doesn't probably happen in New York City.
Right.
Like we didn't give him any
not
money.
Generally.
And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, oh, here you go. And so I had to fly like 10 days later, and he still hadn't received any money. And I didn't want him. Now we really wanted it, right? So I didn't want to like lose it, because now I was thinking everyone was going to try to steal it away from me. So I made him meet me at the bank before I left. Like I packed up my car with my suitcase and my uniform, went to the bank, made him sign some stuff, gave him some cash, and then drove to the airport, flew around. And and then from there, so we perfected our pizza recipe in Lansing. We worked on that for a whole year. And then as we were completely renovating Maple Rapids, and then opened here last February in 2025. So I think around like February 6th of 2025, it was an unannounced opening, and literally
we were packed.
And none of us had worked here.
Sure.
Like we turned the oven on and we were like, okay, time to make pizza. So Ranch is a food group in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So you all know. Yeah. Ranch dressing. And we were like, oh my gosh, we don't even have ranch cups. Like how, like what are, so we just once again.
Just a full bottle on every table. Like, here you go.
Figured it out. And
have a gallon.
I wonder what it would have been like to be on that flight after you went to the airport and went to work. Like, I imagine you were.
I'm sure people were like, that flight attendant smells amazing. Is that oregano he's wearing?
No. I mean, like after you got the space and then you went directly to the airport and got on a flight. I was just thinking, like, if I would have been on that flight, I'd have been like, oh my God, this guy's really happy. And I keep getting free drinks.
Like I'm always, okay, no free drinks. I wish I could, but I can't.
Not that happy, but.
Always happy, but I was really happy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, it was great. Yeah.
Well, I can imagine too, because you've got this business that it sounds like it kind of reminds me like when you have a dying campfire where there's just like a few embers, and you've just kind of been like, I'm not going to do this into the microphone, but like on it for like 2 decades, and now it's this big. You had a line, you were packed on your opening day in your new spot. That's incredible.
With like no advertising.
Yeah.
Like literally, people would go to there's a party store. I don't know what you guys call them on the East Coast. Or on the West Coast.
Party store, liquor store.
Party store, package store.
Sure.
So they would go in every day, and they would
ask the people at the store there, when are they going to open?
And they'd be like, we don't work there. We don't know. But so then they would notice
you're nearby. You must have heard signage. It's a tiny town.
Yeah. And we're right next to the post office too. And this is an interesting thing. So this village, they don't have like mail delivery to their house, to each individual house. You actually have to go to the post office to get your mail. And so
while you're at the post office, pick up a pie.
Right. Like everybody would walk by and they would notice like, oh, the paper's coming off the windows, or, oh, there's a new sign waiting for whatever. And so kind of the buzz just built.
They were keeping tabs on us.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's like weirdly sort of internal marketing without having to do anything. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's kind of great.
It is great.
It was great.
All right. I want to get into the Lansing of it all, because you mentioned the moment when you first, opened up your taps in the Lansing room and people were coming in and saying, oh, thank God you have dry cider, or like asking if you had it. And that made me so happy to hear, because if you had said people were like doing spit takes, we're like, what is it? Why isn't this sweet? I would have had a moment where I was like, oh, did I miscalculate? Like, is Lansing really like, does it suck as much as I was worried it was? Yeah, exactly. But no, it sounds like there's a market and a hunger for some of these products that you're making, and that it was a space that you happened to pop into kind of fully formed.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about Lansing is its neighbor, East Lansing, which is where Michigan State University is.
I was worried I was going to have to cheat and find a bar in East Lansing until I found y'all. And I was like, no, I'm determined. I'm determined to actually go to the capital itself. Yeah.
But that does help the whole ecosystem of the area, having, that different dynamic with people from different areas and all across the country, all across the world, professors, just researchers, that does add a different dimension, I think, to Lansing than if it was just the capital city of Michigan and just we had some auto plants and that was pretty much it. So I think that does help a lot. And having it be the capital city helps, I think, some too, just because you've got state government and the stuff that they do. Different people. Everybody doesn't work in the auto industry, but a lot of people do.
So we actually have a retired ballerina from Fresno. You've mentioned Fresno.
Oh, wow.
That,
Cool.
her husband's in a graduate program at Michigan State University, and so we're happy to have her working for us in Maple Rapids too.
I will tell you, I haven't been to Maple Rapids, but I can imagine it's better than Fresno. I've
never been.
Nobody likes Fresno, do they?
Maybe you guys should look at Fresno.
I want to touch on one quick thing that keeps popping into my mind because it always does. And business wise, competition. You're out there in somewhat of a farm country, right? And you're growing apples and you're making both hard and soft cider, and have been for 6 generations. Is there anybody else nearby doing similar things? And if so, like how do you deal with that competition? Is it friendly?
Sure. There is one big competitor right across the road, right across the highway. You can see them from our parking lot at our main store. They've been in the area pretty much as long as my family has, and been growing apples pretty much as long. They are distant relatives of mine, so
it's a small town.
So I have to say it's mostly friendly. But yeah, they've been doing the apples and sweet cider, and they started into hard cider before we did. So they were already dabbling in that market, before.
And they're a big producer. I mean, I don't know if they
definitely
countrywide, but I mean,
they definitely produce more than we do. And they do. I mean, we're only selling at our locations. We're not doing any distribution right now.
Right.
And they do some distribution around Michigan and into the Chicago market and some other places. So, but it's friendly. I mean, people have asked that question before. They're like, why would you open up right across the street from these, people? And I'm like, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, it was
because, people stop at one
boats.
and they'll stop at the other one, or the line will be too long at one and they'll go, let's check that place out.
One further question I would have is, you went from sweet cider to hard cider. Is there any inkling in your mind that you'd like to go into distillation?
Yes. We've actually
been. I think I uncovered something.
We've been.
They both said yes right away.
You're the first to know.
Breaking news here on the Speakeasy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why people tune in, man. Breaking news here on the Speakeasy.
That's us.
We've definitely been thinking about it. I've just been starting to, we got some distilling books we've been reading. We've been trying to think about what kind of a still would we want. Mm-hmm. We've definitely been toying around with it. I think it's pretty likely it's in our future.
And I think like with our licensing, we are a producer. So we have to make what we sell. Like we can't just get a liquor license and sell Tito's or whatever. And so with distillation, we can then increase our, alcohol offering so that we could do craft cocktails.
Cider's great, but
sometimes you want something.
Sometimes you want
harder,
a cocktail.
Right?
Sometimes you have a rough day or a rough week or rough year.
Right. A rough 5 minutes.
I've worked in brandy production for a very long time now, and so after the show, sometime we'll I can give you all the advice I have on still types and what might work for you on any given level.
Awesome.
But on that note, we talked about Lansing, and we can be a little coastal elite here sometimes. But as I mentioned, I'm from a small town, and Sother's lived all over the United States. Gregg's from Virginia. What else do we need to know about Lansing as a town, other than there's awesome cider being in donuts and pizza?
Give a little glow up. Give a little glow up to your town.
Yeah, I mean, one of the places that people, even who just come to visit, find out pretty quickly about is a place called Horrocks Farm Market out on the west side of town.
So interestingly enough, I used to fly, like I would go to Detroit, LA, back to Detroit, and then lay over in Lansing, Michigan, or Saginaw, Michigan, or Flint, Michigan. And so people used to say, oh, you should bid Lansing layovers. Like, this is before I even knew Brian, and it was before we had even moved, close to Lansing. And so I'd fly all around and then lay over in Lansing and go to this sweet place that Brian was just talking about called Horrocks Farm Market. His parents used to sell produce. His dad would sell produce to them, like in the 60s and 70s. And it's this awesome place with like music and drinking and shopping.
Yeah,
and
they literally started out as a little
and
side of the road produce stand, and over decades now have grown and grown and grown and grown. And they have just, it's one of those crazy places where they have a tavern, you can get a drink. They have a meat department, cheese. They have nurseries, plants. So anyway, it's just, it's its own thing.
And every year they do something different.
Yeah,
so randomly they'll have gelato, and then the next year they'll have caramel corn, and then the next year they'll have, I mean, it's like,
it's crazy. Coffee shop.
Crazy how it all,
whatever.
yeah. Just continually evolves.
So that's one cool thing. I mean, Michigan State University is a cool thing, and East Lansing is. Lansing itself has it's not got a downtown, so to speak. I mean, there is technically an area we call downtown, but there's also Old Town, and there's Rio Town. So there's these little
like REO,
It's almost like three little small towns, separated a little bit. So that's kind of cool because they're very walkable little neighborhoods where they've got different bars and restaurants. There's a place in Old Town called Meat that is a barbecue place.
I'm there.
Yeah. In Rio Town, there's a new place called the Clubhouse, which is got Italian food and has a pretty nice bar. There's a little place called Sleepwalker.
Sleepwalker's adorable.
Little microbrewery who also does pizza. Ours is better, of course. But
on the record.
Sounds like we have a pizza off. Little competition.
They actually buy sweet cider from us for their fermentation because they make a little cider too. So that's all good. So there's lots of great places. So then
we opened
around.
Our cider bar in this
middle.
area, in the middle. In this
in the cider district,
random area called Frandor, which is like a strip mall. I think, was it from like the 60s?
It was 70s? One of the first malls in Michigan, and so it's a big retail hub, and it's kind of very centrally located, right between like downtown Lansing and East Lansing. Yeah,
cool. Like when I sent my parents photos, they were like, "Is that a strip mall?" I'm from Connecticut, so I'm from the East Coast, and so I was like, "Oh, you guys don't get it. Like in Lansing, you can just kind of open wherever. Like people will drive."
The vibe that I'm sort of picking up when you talk about this town is that it's, like you said, it's like a couple little small towns, but that means that there's room for retailers like yourselves to kind of experiment, like you were talking about that spot that like maybe one summer they're going to do gelato and then they turn into a flower market the next year, so there's room for them to riff. And then it sounds like the community is just very open-minded and supportive and like, oh, they're doing this different thing now, let's check this out.
And that's one of the great things. I mean, you talked about it on your podcast last year with Des Moines. About affordability level is way different in a middle of the country city, medium-sized city, where you can afford to try something and not have to have $1 million and not feel like if I don't hit a home run on the first week, we're done. Right. So that is one of the great things about Lansing.
Okay, so now that brings us to the moment of truth. Lansing is officially off the hook. I will admit we were wrong. It sounds great. We are going to resolve in this new year 2026 to do better. So who should be our nominee for worst or most misunderstood or most undiscovered city for 2026? Who's our new whipping boy going to be?
Okay,
Greg, you've been all over. I want to hear your take on this.
So I actually decided that, and to be clear, I'm not saying like the worst city. I'm just wondering, have you guys paid any attention to like Birmingham, Alabama?
Yeah,
I lived there.
You did?
Yeah.
So I just went there, and I went to two places of note that I thought you might want to look into. And one was an Italian restaurant and bar called La Fresca. and all the waiters looked the same. So it was kind of like a casting call for a serial killer, like literally.
Do they all have like the big aviator glasses with
like
the crossbar?
even if they couldn't grow a mustache or a goatee, they had one. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like they all had brown hair, like they all had the same uniform. It was very interesting, and they didn't talk about it. But my friend Lindsay and I just started to notice, like as people would start like clocking in for their shifts, that there was definitely a type. So
Like
that was a
undercover
beautiful
cops.
experience.
It's a family business, and they're all related.
So I would check that place out, and then across the street was this delightful cocktail bar, and it was called the House of Found Objects, and it was this beautifully curated experience, almost like an elevated Pee-wee's Playhouse. And the owner was delightful, gave us a full tour, including this random like downstairs bar called the Womb Room. Bubbles would go off when we walked through, like clouds were floating. He had just like collected all these items, and then some of them he made like, into moving objects. And there was a little like loft bar where you had to, when you were sitting down, you were totally fine, but you could never stand up. Like you'd have to like, walk bent over.
Sure.
So I don't know. I would
Position.
say
You're in a
there's
room.
so many beautiful like little. So with my job, the beauty of it is that I get to go all these places that you would never plan like a 5-day vacation to, right? But I get to hit it. I like 30-hour layovers, so I hit them for 30 hours. I get to do all the great things, stuff that I never would have known about, like my friends never would have known about. Like Fargo, North Dakota, they have a cider bar there that I think has a pool. So in the summer,
What?
Yeah,
Check that out.
so I think in the summer
ice
you can
plunge?
go to a pool party. In the winter, it's an ice plunge.
Yeah, ice cider.
So I mean, there're just so many like great spots.
There you go.
I agree.
But
with
I would
that.
say let's check out Fresno.
Okay.
I've been to Fresno.
You've given them 3 options.
So yeah, maybe that's our
We
new.
like options.
It would be great, actually. I love that you brought that up, because it would be great to have a city in a state that is known for having lots of things going on. From L.A., Joshua Tree, Palm Springs, Santa Barbara, San Diego, San Francisco, Yosemite, Tahoe. All this. And then Fresno. Okay, cool. I like this suggestion. Thank you for that.
All right. Perfect. Fresno, unless Brian, you've got
This is about redemption, by the way.
I was gonna say, unless you have a burning hatred in your heart for like, I don't know, Cheyenne, Wyoming or something.
No, I could vote for Fresno because my aunt lived there for a while. My cousins lived there. I went to visit them in 1976, and I don't really remember anything good about it either. So
Yes.
All right.
So that gives us room to investigate.
Great. This
Perfect.
is awesome. What a great
Fresno,
first show of the year.
California.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brian, Gregg, this has been fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Loved having you on the show. Loved learning a little bit about your family history, your business, the beautiful capital city of Lansing, Michigan. Thank you so much for setting us right about that place. If people wanted to follow along with your exploits and where the company's growing to next, where's the best place for them to keep up with you?
our website, phillipsorchards.com, or our Instagram,
which is Phillips Orchards, and our Facebook is also Phillips Orchards. And then we do have a Facebook for hard cider, or Instagram for hard cider. We actually probably have both.
Yeah, but
Phillips Ciders.
Yeah.
So
Phillips Orchards or Phillips Ciders, you'll find us.
Yes.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right. Keeps things nice and simple. Well, thank you for kicking off the year 2026 with us, gentlemen, and best of luck. I'm looking forward. I'm now officially looking forward to going and visiting Lansing, Michigan. So we've accomplished something. We've changed some minds here today on the show.
Awesome. We have.
Well, that is going to do it for our first show of 2026. But if you want more, if you want to fill the rest of your week with 365 days of us, you can become a regular on our Patreon. Our Patreon regulars get all kinds of great things like longer shows with bonus content. As usual, we had stuff that Gregg and Brian stuck around for that isn't going to appear on the regular feed. We've also got our free monthly hangout with Sother and I and Damon at participating locations. We've got a free cocktail kit from our friends at Shaker and Spoon every single month, and all sorts of other great perks for our friends and our regulars Also, just want to remind people that we are on YouTube, youtube.com/@speakeasy.podcast. So if you want to see us at the start of the year
listen with
instead
your
of just
eye holes.
listening to us. Yeah, exactly. Listen with your eyes. Tune in.
I have one thing I just want to throw in there.
I got a plug?
Yesterday,
Okay, plug it.
Yeah, just real quick. Yesterday, my new show, Sauced, where we, a show about cooking with booze and drinking with food, launched its first episode. So go check out Sauced. We're on Instagram at sauced.pod. And you can find us on YouTube if you want to watch. And it's a good time. So Sauced launched yesterday.
Be sure to check out Sauced, everybody. I'm looking forward to following along with that. And be sure to follow along with this show. Our guest next week is going to be Robert Lamburns of Len. That's a new spot that's opened up here in New York City. Excited to have him on, so be sure to check that out. But until then, happy 2026, and cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Happy New Year.
Cheers.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll, Lord knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs